case of a disaster or some event that will cause you, some catastrophe that will cause you to have to bug out or leave where you are, the decisions that you make have to be based on good assumptions. And there are a lot of myths floating around about how people are and how they think when bad things happen. And most of them are not true, and it ends up with bad policy and bad suggestions for what to do and how you should prep and what you should prep for. So this video is going to deal with some of that. My personal experience, I've lived through 4 hurricanes, 3 tornadoes, 3 earthquakes, and 3 riots. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And I've had some good experiences. I'm still here. That's the good news. But I've really learned some things. And then the recent research that I've been doing and that I've read supports some of the things that I've done. And I should be sharing that with you. So we're going to go after some of the misconceptions associated with disaster and preparedness. One of the first myths is this myth of societal breakdown. Societal breakdown. And it's like a theme. It's like a thing that people want to point to say, see, look at those people doing that bad stuff, and that's what's going to happen to all of society in the case of a disaster. That is absolutely not true and not supported by research, and you shouldn't be acting as if that's what's going to happen. What actually happens is the reverse. In the case of a bad event, you have an increase in social cohesion, and from out of that comes the ability of the community, all of the people that are still available to move around, to help each other. That's what happens, not this societal breakdown thing that folks try to talk about, and they point to Venezuela and food and the takers and the ATM machines not working. Horse pucky. When it gets really bad, people come together and help each other, and that's just the way it is. And if you think any differently, then you're going to be part of the problem. Now, if you take some kind of event and you extend it out over a year or a month, a very long time, you might have a deterioration in whatever there was of a community. But this video is not about the end of the world as we know it. This is about the kind of shit that always hits the fan, that some people prepare for and others don't, and the act of preparing for that matters regardless of the type of event. So forget this end of the world apocalypse zombie thing. I'm not dealing with that. Just to make a point on that, recently, about a few weeks ago, there was a big, flood of the Baton Rouge, Louisiana area. I mean, thousands of people evacuated. Thousands were rescued by their neighbors, by the Cajun Navy. The Cajun Navy. Those are the neighbors that had John boats, fishing boats, Zodiacs, canoes, whatever. But they went door to door in 4 feet of water, rescuing people and pets before first responders could even get there. Why? Because the first responders couldn't get there. The governor said, please help your neighbors. And that's exactly what they did, and that's exactly what you need to think about you doing. I just had to put that out there. Oh, by the way, in terms of societal breakdown, the thousands of people, there were only 4 people, count them, 4 people arrested for looting. 4. So don't get all geeked up that somehow there's going to be a societal community breakdown. Nah. The next is panic. Panic is that, everybody thinks that people are panic. No, they're not. And the description that people like to associate panic with is any type of fear, any type of flight, or any type of uncoordinated activity in the face of a disaster or a serious event. And that is just wrong. That is just wrong. Panic exists under 4 conditions, and all 4 conditions have to be in place. The first one is that the victim, the person that's going to have the panic, has to perceive an immediate threat of entrapment in a confined space, where that be tunnel cave-in, earthquake, bombing, things pancake down on top, and you're still moving, but you think it's going to collapse some more and you're going to be trapped. That the escape routes, if you could get out, the way out is going to be closed or is rapidly closing. Now, in line with that, miners and submariners who've been trapped in submarines, once they know they're trapped in a confined space and no one can get to them, they know they're going to die where they are, they do not panic. They calm, and they calm each other, and they deal with it. So those are 2. Flight, and this is fight or flight. Flight seems to be the only way to survive. Remember, so you have to have immediate threat of entrapment, routes are getting closed rapidly, and running is the only way to get out, or running that way is the only way to get out. And 4th, there is no one available to help, which puts panic as at the individual level, not the group level. So panic is rare, and therefore your planning and your thinking should not be associated with preventing panic. It should be associated with getting yourself and others out of harm's way. And more research on panic is that it is quite rare. All the research of lots and lots of events around the world and in the United States have found that it's rare. And that it always involves just a few people. Remember, I said it's not this big group thing. It's a few people. It's short-lived. Remember, you got to have those 4 things in place. And it is not contagious. So you don't have 2 people freaking out, and then all of a sudden it gets contagious, and then everybody else around starts to panic. The reverse behavior is what people have seen, what the research has seen. And that is that the folks that are involved in a particular event become involved in protective activities of each other. So they actually start helping each other, right? That means people are going to help you, and you're going to be helping other people. That's warning others, calling for help, coordinating help, and rescue and assisting others on the way out, and first aid, whatever you have. So the more capability you have, especially in the first aid trauma care, that's why if you don't have an individual first aid kit, get one. That will do more to save lives in a situation like this than you might believe. So get that kind of training. Now, the biggest issue around disasters and impending events is people don't evacuate when they're supposed to evacuate. And I've seen it, and you've seen it. I've seen the YouTube footage of stupid people on a seawall watching a tsunami come in, right? And they disappear, and watching the tsunami wall overtake cars that people got into too late, and have the tsunami wall literally destroy the car, and you have no idea how much energy is in a wave like that until you see it take 4 or 5 cars and smash it into a building. Unbelievable. Because people don't take evacuation, the need for evacuation, seriously. And I'm going to come back to that, because there's some things that you need to do. When the E word comes out of somebody's mouth, you need to have your personal bug out bag ready to go. And you need to be loading your car. The first time somebody says the word evacuate, even though they're not demanding your evacuation, you need to be doing that. Not having a hurricane party, not having a tornado party, not doing the other silly thing, not Mount St. Helens, when it was getting ready to blow its top, everybody knew that's going to be a bad deal. What did people try to do? They wanted to get up closer to the mountain. And, and frankly, the law enforcement can't make you evacuate from your house. That's a misconception. If you think that they can come and make you leave, no. Now, they might come to you and say, what's your social security number? And they might write the social security number on your arm, and they'll tell you so your next of kin can find your stupid ass, right? But they can't force you to get into a car and go anywhere, right? Heed the evacuation warning. I'm going to come back again on why that's so important. People that believe that mitigating panic, that don't make them panic, is important, do the wrong thing. And they do things like, if there's a fire in a building and there's people still trapped in the building, they give them as little information as possible to avoid panic. I don't know why they get that idea. The other dumb one that you see in movies and TV, and unfortunately the same thing happened down in Orlando in the terrorist attack there. Keep the band playing. Keep the Titanic, as a ship sinking, keep the band playing. Why? Right? People need to be getting to the damn escape boat, lifeboats. People need to get out. You don't need to entertain them. That's a distraction. If they're in a place and there's entertainment going on, stop the entertainment and get the people out. You reduce the noise level, people can hear commands, get them out, get yourself out. Right? Pull the plug on the power if you need to. Do not entertain the people. Get them out. Evacuation warnings, then, should be given as frequently and as early as possible. The notion we don't want to create panic is crazy. You won't create panic because people will you will make them pay attention to whatever the phenomena is. If it's a tornado and the sirens go off, they might not see the tornado, but they might see the impending weather, right? This happened in 1980, Grand Island, Nebraska. People are used to, it's Tornado Alley. They're used to that stuff, right? The sirens went off, everybody knew what they were for, and the sirens went off with a certain amount of warning in terms of time. On this one particular case, and there had not been an actual tornado touchdown in that town for almost 100 years, but on this one particular time, the sirens went off, the people paid attention like they always do, and they went, something doesn't look right, and a town of 40,000 people did what they needed to do. They hit their storm cellars, and some could evacuate. And when the six tornadoes destroyed the city. Only 5 people died. See what I'm saying? Don't worry about panic. People will do what they need to do if they know what to do, and that means you should know what to do. And flash flood is another one. In most cases, a flash flood, you're going to be in an area where it's not raining. You have no idea that the water is coming. So if you get flash flood warnings, you need to look at where you are and get out of the blue line. That's the line on the map that indicates that water is or could be there. You get the high ground. If you're camping, you get out of there. If you live there, in this case, a city was downstream from a dam, right? The dam broke because of the flooding, but people got away because they had enough warning, right? And they heeded the warning. So do not wait when you hear the warning signs, the evacuation signs, the time to go signs. Let's talk about search and rescue after the event. Between 50 and 80% of the people are dealt with by their neighbors, not first responders. In other words, you and your neighbors in the community are the first responders. The first responders are the second responders. That's the way it is. Whoever's on scene first is going to deal with it, which comes back to the degree of prepping that you have, right? It's going to be first aid, evacuation, get the people out, help to get the people to safety, and then you're going to be doing the other things. By the time first responders get there, and then go back to Baton Rouge, first responders could not get there. Cars couldn't roll. The National Guard vehicles couldn't get through 4 feet of water. It was the Cajun Navy, the guys with the boats. Those are the ones that did the rescuing. So, you're going to be the first responder. So you should have your stuff together and your mindset about that. Now let's talk a bit about evacuation of high density areas. And you've seen it in the movies. The aliens are coming, the bomb is coming, the big wave, the whatever. And what are we going to do? We'll create mass panic. People hit the freeways and the interstates and they won't be able to get out. Every major county has an evacuation capacity plan. That is, they have done the math, they've worked with some smart people to figure out what percentage of this city can be safely evacuated in 12 hours. And some have done it to 24 hours. And trust me, the number is between 50% and 70%. Okay? That is not good, right? That tells you that not everybody is going to get out. Not everybody's going to get out. Or the people that leave after that, they wait too long, are going to be spending a whole lot of time in their car, probably exposed to the threat. Example, I lived through a hurricane in Florida, and the governor and this was going to hit a direct hit on Fort Lauderdale. Boom. And I could see it coming for 5 days. I knew exactly where that thing was going to hit, right? Exactly where it was going to hit. And I knew it wasn't going to come to where I lived, right? So I didn't have to evacuate. I knew it was going to rain, but I wasn't going to get, it just didn't have that kind of energy to move to where I was going to be. But it sure smacked the shit out of South Florida. So what did the governor do? The governor decided that he was going to give an evacuation order for Miami and Fort Lauderdale. You have no idea what that did. It put millions of people on the interstate who were then trapped in their cars with no food on the interstate in the middle of the hurricane in cars. It was the dumbest move I'd ever seen, right? But we pay them the big bucks, right? So now cities have evacuation capacity plans so they know how many. Now, what you need to know is that they're based on some assumptions. And then come back to what I said earlier. If an event happens that you can see coming, or it has happened, you are not going to go looking for your family. You're going to go to where safety is. And you're going to hope that your family and loved ones went to where safety is, which may not be the same place you're going. That's what's going to happen. You're not going to go back home looking for anything. Why? Because there won't be anything there. There'll be demolished property and bodies. Okay? So don't have it in your head that I got to go back and find my daughter I haven't seen in 10 years. I was an asshole dad. You know the movie, right? You know, and you're not going to do that. You're going to get yourself to safety. And that has to be a frank conversation with people. When you get an evacuation order, remember you got 12 out, if you're first in line, you have a good chance in 12 hours to be way out of harm's way, right? If you do that. If you wait, you could be one of the people who get stuck behind or stuck in a traffic jam. That will happen. That will happen. So as soon as you hear an evacuation order, I said it before, grab your carry-go bag. That's your 72-hour bag. It should be a 72-hour bag for each person. For each person. And if you got little munchkins, somebody's got to carry them. Right? You have to think about that. That goes in the car. Then you load the car with the other stuff that can take you further. And the reason you have to do it that way is because some of these evacuation capacity plans require people to walk out, because being in vehicles is not going to be safe or won't be practical, but you would be able to walk out. That's especially true in earthquake scenarios. So, or tornadoes where it's destroyed infrastructure, right? Yes, you might be able to evacuate out, but you're going to be doing it on foot. That's not end of the world as we know it. That's not being a gray man. That's just, you can't stay where you are, and you don't have a car, and you got to bug out. And you won't be able to wave down the helicopters and any of that stuff. So think about that. Think about your physical condition. I mean, that's why you need to think the way you do, because these plans are in place. Okay, I've said a lot. I'll give you one tidbit. Capacity plan. The 2 top cities in the country rated for capacity are Dallas, Texas, and Houston. So if you want to be somewhere and know that you can get out pretty well, those are the 2 cities so far that have the highest ranking. You do not want to be in Manhattan or Washington, D.C. Just saying. So, any comments, any thoughts, any criticism? I mean, did I get some stuff wrong? Did I miss anything? I'd welcome your comments below. If you would like, the research is formidable. I mean, it's like I can't put it all down in the comments, but you can private message me, and I'll be more than happy to copy all this stuff to you if you want some light reading. So as always, thanks for watching. Carry on.